Hey, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube Just Daf It. Today we're doing the Daf Ayin Gimel, number 73. A great share for you today and a short share for you today. I'm in kind of a rush. I have about 25 minutes to give 4 shiurim and 5 news reports. I do that also, lang for your block news. So buckle up because it's going to be nice and quick. Third line of Ayin Gimel Aleph. Bayram Rachama. Someone who's deaf, right? He obviously didn't hear the neder. His wife writes him a letter. She made a neder. Could he be made for her neder? We discussed yesterday, could a husband be made for his wife's nedarim without hearing them? The Gemara concluded basically that technically it's not really clear. The Gemara didn't really answer it. But if you assume that he could do it, Mishum Debar Mishmahu, that's maybe because technically he is someone in the parsha. He could hear her nedarim. He just didn't happen to hear her nedarim. Aval Cherish Lav Bar Mishmahu, he never could hear her nedarim. Right? So we would apply the law of Rabbi Zera. Hainu de Rabbi Zera, the Amar Rabbi Zera, Kol Roy Lebila Ein Bila Makeves. Well, Kol She'ein Roy Lebila Bila Makeves. There's halacha and menachos. Basically, if you want to make a very big korban mincha, you don't have to make a small mincha. You can be no Dave. Be generous and give a big korban mincha, a lot of flour. Chazal said if you want to you have to mix the flour with oil. So if you want to give a really big flour donation, min korban mincha, the most you can give is 60 isaron. Isaron is a lot of flour, but if it's a kli that has 60 isaron, can mix together with oil. Technically, you're supposed to mix it, but since it could be mixed well in 60 isaron, so you don't have to b'diavad. If you don't mix it, it's okay. Once you have a kli that's 61 isaron, contains 61 isaron, so then even if you mix it, it doesn't mix well. Chazal say that's what so Rabbi Zera said. Kol roy lebila if it's 60 isaron and bila makes, but you don't have to do it. Well, she'en roy lebila if it's 61 isaron, a bowl of 61 isaron bila makes, but then you actually have to mix it. Meaning basically, even if you mix it, doesn't help. It doesn't mix well. Here also, she's not capable. The person's not capable. The husband's not capable of hearing, so therefore, it ruins it. Oh, Dilma v'shama yisha l'ma'akev. Maybe you tell me. The Torah says v'shama yisha. It doesn't really mean he has to actually hear. It just means he has to know about it. Amarava Tasha. Rava tries to bring a proof. V'shama yisha. Probably yisha's cherish. A brisa. The husband has to hear about it, excluding the yisha's cherish, right? If she's married to a deaf man, so he can't be made for her nedarim. Sounds like we learn two things from here. First of all, we learn that if he's a cherish, he can't be made for an adarim. But also we learn, obviously, the fact that it only rejects an Aisha's cherish. So therefore, if he's a regular husband, he could hear, but he doesn't hear, it would be okay. He has 2 wives. To have 2 wives. Monogamy is the best way of going about it. Oh, Beno Gershom. They say that's one of the, when Chazal do something against the Torah, like Rabbeinu Gershom did, basically, to limit a person to marry one wife, which is against the Torah, because the Torah permits, polygamy. So, even encourages polygamy. So, what he did was, he did it for 1,000 years. 1,000 years are over, but already wrote the Mishnah down. Hefer is what we're talking about, Hafaras Nedarim. And I explained Hafar does not mean to remove it. It means to block it temporarily. That's all it is, a block. He didn't remove it. He didn't abrogate it. He blocked it. So it's only a blocking. It's only meant to be temporary. Let's bring polygamy back. So, like the Gemara says, he has 2 wives, and they both made nedarim. Could he do it? Say mufar, the 2 of them at the same time. Osa dafka. It says osa, which is singular, right? He's made for osa. O lav dafka. Maybe he doesn't have to be 1 wife. He can do 2 at the same time. I'm Ravina Tashma. Ravina tries to bring a proof. Ein mashkin shtei sotos ka'achas. We're going to learn Masech and Sota soon after Masech Nazir. Masech Sota states that if you have 2 wives that are Sota, you suspect them of committing adultery, right? You can't bring them to Beis Din and be mashkim the Sota to check whether they committed adultery at the same time. According to Tanakama, what's the reason? Because if one woman who really committed adultery, she's a defiant woman, she'll drink it, right? The other one who, right? The other one, instead of admitting, right? If she was by herself, she would admit, and she wouldn't kill herself. by drinking the main Mara, but she sees her other friend so defined, she'll be defined also. So we don't do two at one time. You don't marry, it's a different reason. Lomin Hashem was that. It's not for that reason. Osa Levada, where it says in the Torah, he's Mashka, his wife. Singular, Levada, it has to be only her by herself. You can't bring two wives to Beis Din and be Mashka them at the same time. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, Osa is Daf. And according to the Nakama, Osa is Lap Daf, because he gives a different reason. So we probably pass like Tanakama that he can do two at one time. As Rabbi Yehuda is the Yachid opinion, is the minority opinion. The Mishnah in Gilman Beis, well, Gerish and Shas and Beis Chodesh, the Almana Shloshim Yom. Rebelezer Omer Hoil Baila Chai, but I said Yafir. Now we learned earlier it's not Dafka Bulgaris. Bulgaris really only gets 30 days, but a Nara, right? She gets engaged. She gets 12 months, right, to arrange her preparations, to make the phone calls, to get her makeup ready, her dress ready. She has 12 months. And Almana, someone who's been married before, she has 30 days to get ready for the marriage. Once those 12 months elapse and 30 days elapse, we learn in Mesachas Suvos, the husband, we'll see in the Gemara, he's obligated to feed her. This mission is dealing with Nedarim. Rebbe says, since he's chayav to feed her, he also can be made for Nedarim. The Chum doesn't make a difference. With Mizonos, maybe he's obligated. But Nedarim, you have to wait until she's actually married. And then the Baal has sole proprietorship over her Nedarim. Gemara says, Amar Rabba, Rebbe Mishnah Rishona, Amru Davecha. Rebbe and the Mishnah Rishona, the first opinion in Mesachas Ksuvos, said the same thing. The Snan, we learned in Mesachas Ksuvos, knows in the Psula Yud Beis Chodesh, the finance Atzma. If she's a psula, she's never been married before, and she's a nara, like we learned earlier in the Gemara in this parrot. So you give her 12 months after they said, okay, we're going to get married, right? They agreed to get married. They give her 12 months to get whatever is necessary to prepare the wedding, to prepare her dress, her makeup. He can give his chodesh. He can give his chodesh. 12 months elapse, and the husband is delaying. She gets to eat from his bank account, food, and if he's a Kohen and she's an Israeli, she's even allowed to truma. Aval Yavam, because technically Midoraisa she could eat truma even from the engagement. Aval Yavam ain't no Michael with truma. Yavam, if she got engaged to a man and the man died, so now she is supposed to get married, right? Yavam, even Mina Erison applies. Supposed to get married to his brother. They had no kids, obviously, because of the Erison. Hayavam ain't no Michael with truma. Asta, meaning, we'll see what that means. Asta Shisha Chadash M'tei Abal, V'Shisha Chadash M'tei Yavam, right? 6 months she waited for the husband, then he died, and then another 6 months in front of the Yavam. If you look cool, or it was 11 months and 29 days in front of the husband, and then 1 day in front of the Yavam. Or the husband, after the engagement, the next day he died, and then she waited 11 months and 20 days in front of the Yavam. She doesn't get a truma; it has to be a full 12 months. Zumishnah Rishona, Beis Din Shalacharayim. The second, when they reconvened the Beis Din and they realized what was going on, Midarabana, and they said, even though it's Taraisa, right, she could already eat Mina Erison, and they said after 12 months she gets the right to eat, they said no, she has to go into the chuppah. Either the Gemara and Kedushin and the Gemara and Ksuas give two different reasons, because maybe she has a mum, and maybe he'll be mevatel the Kedushin, in which case she's eating Shuma in the wrong way, or maybe because she's still in her father's house, she's going to give to her Yisrael father and Yisrael brothers and sisters. So therefore, they're Masaki and she can't eat Truma until it comes to the Chuppah. Amalei Abaye, Dilma Lohi. So you see from the Mishnah Rishona what? That once 12 months elapse for a Psula, she's a Nara, so she gets to eat Mizonos. So Rabbi Lezer says on Mishnah, because she gets Mizonos, she also gets to pay for Nedarim. So they say the same thing. Amalei Abaye, Dilma Lohi. Maybe they're not saying the same thing. Adkal no Kamashmina on Mishnah Rishona, El Lamech B'Truma D'Rabbanan. Maybe only the Mishnah meant that she could eat Truma D'Rabbanan. Not Truma D'Oraisa. Truma D'Rabbanan comes from things which are not dug on Tirosh V'Yitzar, only wheat, olives, and grapes. Truma is D'Oraisa, other things D'Rabbanan, right? Apples are D'Rabbanan. Oh, Darim D'Oraisa, Darim which is Dinim D'Oraisa, Imolo. Maybe the Rabbanan would say she doesn't get, after 12 months elapsed, and not fully married, and the husband can't be made for an Nedarim by himself. Maybe Rav only said his din in the Mishnah because he held like Rav Pinchas in the name of Rabba. Right? The way it works with a husband and wife, her Nedarim, the reason he's made for the Nedarim is she's making her Nedarim al Tanai that the husband wanted, right? When she makes a neder, when she's in her father's house or she's engaged, she makes her neder. She's not so close to her father, she's not so close to her arus, but when they get married, they have a special relationship, like a husband and wife. So Eskilu, when she makes a nether, she says, I'm only making a nether if my husband agrees to this nether. So therefore, once they feel comfortable enough, that 12 months elapsed and they're supposed to get married, so it's already like she's being told her nedarim on the haskama of her husband. She's making them dependent on whether he agrees to them or not. So that would apply. But maybe even Rabbi Lezer would hold, even according to the Mishnah Rishona, he wouldn't agree with the Mishnah Rishona. Even Truma, which is Darabanan, she doesn't get the right to eat until he actually comes to the Rishus, because really, technically, you're supposed to eat Truma only when you get married to the Kohen, Midrabanan. Hope you enjoyed today's share. Stay tuned for Iyun Ben Sion. I'm going to explain this statement or Pinchas Shei Rabba, which I believe we hold the halacha, that Kol Noderes Al Das Baila Noderes, even though we don't paskin like Rabbi Lezer, we do hold Kol Noderes Al Das Baila Noderes. I'm going to explain how we can hold like both of them, hold like the Rabbanan and hold like Rav Pinchas Shei Rabba. Ian Ben Sion coming up next.